Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another DADCAW. It is 1:33 in the afternoon of Friday, January 10th, 2019, plus 1, 2020. I'm going to say that for a while. I can't believe it. I said 2020 right the first couple of DADCAWs, but I fucked it up this time. Goes to show you can never count yourself out of making a mistake. So, as awesome as it would be if that actually segued into my point, one of the things that I was thinking about talking about is following up on the previous DADCAW. One of the concepts that I didn't really touch on was like establishing a daily routine or doing stuff that basically helps remove excuses that you have for not doing work. And so one of the things that has been incredibly helpful for me, besides obviously getting my sleep schedule in order, is just doing the same sort of thing every day. And that sounds monotonous, but you can turn it into a positive thing. Sort of like how habits can be positive or negative, but either way, they're kind of hard to break. This is sort of where we're going with it. We're trying to make some positive habits. And certain people's, external factors like when they work or where they work or whatever they're doing when they're not trying to get work done on their projects will dictate how easily they can adopt some sort of daily routine. But for me, I've specifically cultivated work that I can control so that I can do this daily routine every day. And it really only peters off or changes shape or becomes less defined and more amorphous after my stream ends. And that is after most of the work that I'm going to get done that day has been done, with some exceptions if I have the rest of the day to continue working and I end up actually taking that opportunity instead of, relaxing or finding some other worthwhile activity to do that isn't related to getting work done, such as spending time with family or whatever. So I'm going to go through my daily routine and do basically recite what I do every day. And then I will talk about, things that you can do to try and make this something that can work for you and try to get into the rhythm of doing something every day. And so this may seem very mundane to people, but this is just a demonstration of what is possible. So I wake up at around 6 in the morning every morning, and I idle in bed for a little bit, probably longer than I should. And then I get up no later than 7 o'clock, unless I really need sleep, in which case sometimes I will get up at 7:30. But either way, I'm up by then. After that point, I shower. I shave if I need to. I basically handle those sort of toiletries and hygiene things. I brush my teeth. I go and prepare some food, either to eat then or to eat in a little bit, depending on how early I actually am. I try not to eat until around 8 o'clock if I can help it. And at the point where I am eating, that is usually an hour before I have to stream. So I've got plenty of time to eat and then to get through the digestion phase where you may have noticed this, you may have not, but after you eat, you do feel a little groggy, even if you just woke up. Unless maybe you took some caffeine beforehand. But I take my caffeine at the beginning of my streams, unless I'm up really early and feel like getting some work done. That did happen recently. But I really don't need the caffeine to work. It's just a nice little pick-me-up to, again, counteract the grogginess that you get from eating. So after I have finished my meal and washed the dishes or whatever, and done any other things that I want to do, I get into the headspace of streaming. I figure out what my itinerary actually is, what tasks I was doing last time. I remember them, and then I start to, get my workspace set up. And if all goes well, I'm able to use the bathroom and basically do everything that I need to do before actually getting the work done. And then I get the work done on my stream. And that is at 9 o'clock, sometimes a little later. And it goes until around 1, maybe 2 if I'm really pushing it and really getting work done. And so it's at least 4 hours. And of course, what I do in that stream varies on day to day, but ultimately it revolves around working on a project. So that's where you're getting the work done. And again, after the stream, things take a turn, and maybe I record a DADCAW like I'm doing right now. Maybe I work on some other projects, or I continue working on what I was just working on, or I get ready for my work that I work at, the in-store shopping thing that people seem to know that I do because I mentioned it in previous DADCAWs and on streams. And either way, I'm doing something. I'm not just laxing around doing nothing. But eventually there is time to laze around and do nothing, and that is called leisure time. That is stuff that you should take. It's and not feel bad about either. There's a difference between procrastinating and actually committing to having a relaxing time. If you procrastinate, you're not really doing anything. You have one foot in, one foot out, and you're not fully enjoying the leisure time that you could be having, and you're also not getting work done that you could be doing. So that's one of those things where you just have to commit and say, I know I said I was going to do work, but right now I'm not really feeling it. I'm just going to get work done on my leisure time. I'm going to really, relax the fuck out of this time, if that makes any sense. So kind of an odd concept, but if you commit fully to that, you'll have a better time, generally speaking. And you'll really enjoy it. You can watch a really good movie or play a really fun game or, do any of those other things that can be subjectively meaningful without actually accomplishing anything in a productive sense. It can still help you and relax and chill out and all that stuff. And these are important things that you have to do from time to time. And if that time happens to be when you thought you were getting work done, then maybe you'll have to get some work done when you thought you'd be having some leisure time. Or maybe you'll just have to work harder next time. Either way, there's room to fill in if necessary. Sometimes I end my streams maybe 3.5 hours in instead of 4 because I'm really not feeling it that day. But I know I got a little bit of work done in those 3.5 hours, and that's good enough for me for that particular time. And another thing that this schedule stuff does is, again, it's very consistent. I do this every morning. And so basically half of my day is already planned out from the beginning. I don't have to really spend any mental fortitude or acuity or whatever really thinking about what I want to do that day. I mean, insofar as the minutia of actually making something, getting progress done on a project and doing so on stream, that I do have to get an itinerary for. That I do have to actually think about. But if I'm already doing that, then I'm already doing the work. That is part of the work. Whereas if I'm thinking, do I want to work on something today? Do I want to stream today? And then I have to try to plan that out in logistics, figure out what time and for how long. I don't have to worry about any of that planning stuff because I already do that at the beginning of every day. That is just a given. I'm always going to be doing this. And for however long as I find this meaningful, that is how long I will be doing it for. And so it's very, very easy. It takes that planning part out. And it's also building an expectation for yourself. And again, in my case, I'm streaming to a community, so it's building an expectation for the viewers as well. But for most people who aren't going to be doing that, they will at least build an expectation for themselves, and it will feel odd when they don't end up committing to that. After a certain amount of time, you build that habit. If you end up not doing it, it's sort of like if you work out every day and then, suddenly a day without working out is different. It feels odd, it feels wrong perhaps, because you're not doing something that you usually do. Just like a day without eating would be odd for most people anyway. And when you can build that sort of habit and make that just a part of your routine, a part of who you are, is to do work every day, sometimes at a very specific time frame like me, then that can indeed help your productivity. It takes away, again, any excuse like, oh, I didn't really think about doing work today. No, you did, because that's what you do every day. So of course, that's what you have to do, or what you said you were going to do anyway. So that makes it a lot easier to just do the work. And I talked earlier about how this schedule can help you to not make excuses. Well, that's because you're already planning it out, like I said. And so it's a double-faceted thing where you're doing both planning for yourself without needing to go do it again later. You're already blocking out that time in your head, and that's just an expectation. And you expect that you'll get work done during that time. You'll expect you'll show up and do the work. And by doing that, it's very, very easy to just tackle in and do it. It's also a lot harder to make excuses to not do it, even if it's like, oh, I don't really feel good. But like plenty of people don't feel good and still do stuff. So that's really not an excuse, unless it's like something seriously, that's a serious issue. Obviously, only you can know that in the moment. But odds are, anytime you're feeling a little tired or a little under the weather, or maybe you're too hungry or too thirsty or too X or too Y or too Todd or too 3. But, there's really only so many excuses that you can make that actually excuse you from doing work that you do every single day otherwise. And that has really pulled me through a lot of the times. It's just such a habit that I get up and I do the work that if I were ever to be super late on a certain thing, like if I started an hour late or something, that would feel really off by itself, let alone actually breaking the streak and stopping the streams. That would be very strange. And so hopefully this sort of worked as a proper addendum to the previous DADCAW. as I noticed that I had forgotten to exposit this information, to present this. And so that is, again, my daily routine at the beginning of every day, from the time I wake up till the time I set down the stream. And then after that point, like I said, it becomes a bit more amorphous, changes from day to day. Sometimes I'm doing fraud nights or Mapcrap or working or any of those other things. But I'm always, getting at least, 4 hours of good work done on whatever project I'm working on. That will take you a very long way if you're able to get up to that point. Now, I'm not necessarily saying start doing this every single day. I mean, the first thing I can encourage you to do is get at least 8 hours of sleep every single day. And once you do that, you can start making it consistent, always the same 8 hours of sleep, generally speaking. Or within a range of 10 hours, you're definitely sleeping 8 hours of that. Like, not, you go to bed between 10 and 12 and wake up between 6 and 8. If that can work for you, then you can really start to get up early, get work done early, and then the rest of the day is whatever you make of it. There's people who have way more time than I do on a day-to-day basis to work on projects, and yet somehow they don't work as long as I do, as many hours as I do. That is entirely because they don't find the motivation, they haven't built that habit. And if they were to do this, they could unlock a lot of potential within themselves and easily surpass me, who doesn't really have any talents that were unforeseen or never, hitherto unheard of in the scene. And there's plenty of people who have plenty of potential, more so than perhaps myself, as I just mentioned, or alluded to anyway. And I would love to see them actually unlock that, I would love to see them actually make a project better than I could make it, because then I could learn something from them, and then I could have a good project to play and, really have some fun playing some custom content. But until they adopt some discipline, right? Until they get some discipline, the way that I've gotten some discipline, they're not really going to be able to tap into that potential and fully realize it. So hopefully this helps. On a slightly less important note, we can chat a little bit about the upcoming Mapcraps, because that is the only other thing that I feel merits conversation right now. And the only other thing that's coming into my head anyway, popping into my head. But Mapcrap is indeed going strong in its third season, and I'm pretty happy with how things have been going. But this next Mapcrap, which is tomorrow from the recording date of this video, will be a little bit odd because it is going to be a normal event, 2 days like the other ones have been. But afterwards, we're going to have a 3-week break. And when we come back on the 1st of February, we will be doing a full toilet for the following 3 weeks. I may shorten this to 2 depending on how many people feel strongly about that, but I'm thinking the full 3 weeks would be ideal for people who maybe didn't participate in the normal Mapcrap events. I know Soul Filter came in, for example, to Full Toilet to participate because he felt that the 2 weeks was enough time to make a map, whereas 4 hours at the time was a little ludicrous. And he's not wrong about that anyway. But for the most part, I just wanted to put this out here in case people were interested. And of course, I'll make a more targeted video talking just about this in very brief, terse terms and referencing the fact that we are indeed launching that one. I'll probably do that a couple days out from the 1st of February. So I guess keep your eyes peeled for that. But I am looking forward to Full Toilet. I'm looking forward to perhaps doing something even more zany than initially expected. I think UED Commander over on my Discord server did mention the idea that we could do a team Full Toilet and make an entire campaign, or at least more than one map, would be allowed. So people could choose to focus their efforts on a single map that has a lot of replayability, perhaps, or just a large-scale one. Or they could choose to make, a set of maps that were very less large scale than a single map, obviously, because they have time to work on it for across 3 weeks. So that won't be this Valentine's Day one. February is Valentine's Day. It'll be a solo operation, but the next Full Toilet may very well be that. And I'm looking forward to getting into those because it's just exciting to have a longer running contest that we can work on. So naturally, it also means that I'd be spending less time working on my own projects. So I'm not totally thrilled with that, but you give and take, and I'm sure there'll be some excuse that I can come up with that will further the level of, assets that I have to work on. For example, the previous Full Toilet, I worked on the space tile set for my map, and that helped my work with Hydra. And obviously just meant that any project that uses the space tile set now has access to those assets. So, I'm sure I can justify it with something like that, just by working more assets into the community and for my own projects and for others. So I am looking forward to continuing that saga. But that is that for now, I believe. And I'll go ahead and close this one out. So thank you guys for listening, and I will be seeing you next week for another DADCAW. I'll be seeing you tomorrow for another mod stream, and I'll be seeing you, I guess Monday will be when I stream again for Toddborn. The rest of them will be Mapcrap streams. So stay tuned for those, and I will see you later.